It's Patrick and Chuck at Pals, and we're looking at a Ram pickup truck. Now, folks, you see Rams all the time. This one has a 5.7 engine, but it's not a typical 5.7 engine. It's probably something you folks have never seen before. Chuck, what is this?
Well, normally most people would look at that and think, wow, look, that's a big alternator, but it's not. It's a generator.
That's this piece right here.
That is correct. And what it's designed to do is take the electricity for the hybrid battery pack that's in this vehicle, and it's supposed to make it go from 48 volts to 12 volts to run the systems on the car. Where if you had a regular hybrid, even though this functions like a hybrid, that has an inverter to take the voltage that's being generated and increase it in power in order to run the hybrid battery pack. This vehicle runs off the engine and gets increased torque. That's why it's called an e-torque system when you need it for towing or for fuel economy to kick the battery pack in. It increases your fuel economy by 10%. It gives you very, very, very great towing capabilities, up to, I believe, 12,000 pounds, Patrick.
That's correct.
And that's with a regular 1500 Ram. You can't even tow that much with the big 6.2 liter Hemi engines. They only tow about 8,000 pounds.
So let's look at this real quick, because I'm looking at a Hemi engine. It's got spark plugs. It's a regular engine. And then I'm looking at this generator. And that generator, it's an addition to the power of the engine. This car never runs off of the battery pack. It always runs off of the engine, and it has an additional power from the generator, correct?
Correct. It helps with the battery pack. It also has a regen system on it that when you're braking, that kinetic energy that's being given off, which is normally wasted, is actually used to help generate power to that 48 volt battery pack, so that you have that power on demand when you need it for the increased towing and for the increased fuel economy. The other thing is, the reason Chrysler designed this system is because the old stop-start technology was cumbersome. They designed this because it engages much faster, much smoother, and you're less likely to notice the impact of the starting and stopping of the car.
So when you come to a stop sign in a typical new car, the engine shuts off. When you go to accelerate, the engine turns on. You're using a 12-volt battery to do that, but you're not doing that here.
That's correct. You're using the 48-volt battery pack, which makes it supply the power to the wheels to start the engine and to drive much faster, much smoother, and more seamlessly than in previous systems, because people complained about the systems being cumbersome. Whereas with this new hybrid type system, you're getting all the benefits and having less of the cumbersomeness of the system.
So let's talk about a typical hybrid. A typical Prius Toyota runs off of a 48 volt system and an inverter.
And an inverter, right. It's taking the energy being produced by the car and changing it from 12 volts to 48 volts. It's charging the capacitors so that they can supply the added voltage needed to run the hybrid system in the car.
So on this truck, it's not an inverter, it's a converter. So it converts 48 volts, which is behind the seat, by the way. That's where the battery pack is. So it changes it from 48 volts to 12 volts, because the system needs to run all your radio, air conditioning, the engine components all run off of 12 volts. However, when you need the additional, like at a stop sign, instead of spinning the engine over with 12 volts, you're spinning it over at 48, and it starts much quicker.
That's correct. It starts much quicker, and you're able to proceed and drive more seamlessly. These systems are new. I know that Chrysler and the Jeep line are supplying these systems to people, and the jury's still out on the technology because it's so new. But hopefully, the added cost will add to the added effectiveness life of the vehicle for the customer, because cars are expensive today.
So let's look at the benefits. Benefits are, if you had a 6.4 engine in this, it would tow 8,100 pounds, okay? That's a supercharged engine with 700 horsepower. If you have this system, you only have 410 horsepower, but you can tow 12,700 pounds. That's over 4,000 more pounds that you can tow on this system because of this converter, the generator converter, okay, that generates 48 volts. The engine is still only putting out what it's capable of putting out, but the added electricity, it's like, consider it like a turbocharger or a supercharger, okay? You're adding power to the engine. It's a power adder. That's the way that Dodge has and Chrysler Corporation has added this. It's a power adder. It's not a complete power system. In a regular hybrid, you've got a complete power system. In a regular EV, you've got a complete power system. In a regular gas engine, you've got a complete power system. Gas engines for years have used turbochargers and superchargers as power adders. Diesel engines use turbochargers as power adders. Now, the technology has come for electricity power adders, and that's what this does. Now, the benefits are great because you've got a half-ton pickup truck that'll go 12,000 pounds to tow with, right? But let's talk a little bit about the drawbacks. When this piece goes bad, it's very expensive to replace. This is not like a $500 alternator, okay? Sometimes it can be 5 times that much. So the technology is great, but the cost of renewal is also great. It's expensive, okay? So you have to decide anytime you're looking at a pickup truck and you're going to use it for towing, you want to buy the truck that fits your needs, okay? When you look at the cost of a 3/4 ton or a 1 ton truck, they're much more expensive than a half-ton truck, okay? Some folks will say, well, I'll buy this system because I can tow as much with this as I can do a heavy 3/4 ton. And that's true. But when it comes time for maintenance, then it can become very expensive. Now, same can be said for a diesel engine versus a gas engine. If you're not doing a lot of towing, a diesel is not the way to go. You're spending an awful lot of money up front for that tow system, okay? Well, it's the same thing with this. If all you're after is better response at the stoplight when you get on the gas, this is probably not worthwhile for you. If you're going to use it to tow, then it's a whole different situation. But just understand the differences. We see it all the time, the expense.
You know, these systems, they don't really let you know that they can be high cost for maintenance, especially down the road. You know, when somebody buys a truck today, it's not like it was 30 years ago where you keep the truck 5 to 7 years. Now people are holding on to vehicles 12, 15, even 18 and 20 years. Well, if you're going to keep it that long, there's going to be some maintenance occurred along the way, including stuff like generators, battery packs, those kind of things. So you want to do your research up front to make sure that the costs are manageable as the vehicle gets older.
And folks, you have to look at it. We've had several examples. There's regular hybrids, like a Toyota Prius. There's plug-in hybrids, like the C-Max
Like the C-Max that we had here, yes, sir.
This is called a mild hybrid.
Correct.
That's the terminology that Dodge uses for it, or Ram uses for it, is a mild hybrid
electric system.
And what it is, look at it as a power adder, like a supercharger or a turbo. That's what you've got. You've got a power adder. You've got 48 volts, but the converter is going to convert it to 12 volts because that's what the rest of the system runs on. So they've taken proven technology with the 5.7 and they've added a converter as a power adder. They also offer a supercharger, which creates a whole bunch more horsepower in the engine, but it cannot tow what the electricity can. Folks, if you've got a Ram with a mild hybrid like this one, and it needs work, we're equipped to handle it. We've got the proper tools to set you up, and we know how the system works. When you're shopping for these vehicles, make sure that you're fitting your needs correctly. Make sure that you don't get caught up with the buzzwords. Find the technology that fits your needs and then buy it and go with it. This is an exciting time in the automobile industry. We're seeing a lot of innovation and a lot of progress that wasn't available 5 or 10 years before. See you soon.